It's time for the Texas Perspective on current news and events. A man who calls it like he sees it, without the normal political correctness you may have grown comfortable with. This show is not for the faint of heart or easily offended. Chances are you will learn something and along the way get to hear some great music from bands you may have missed. The doctor is in, and he will see you now.
Well, I guess we better get on with it.
Good morning, Beaumont. Hope you're enjoying this fall weather. It's just so nice out there today, but it's going to get warmer today, but not that warm. So enjoy it. There is a 6% chance of rain, but that means it's going to rain somewhere, but chances are 98% chance it's not going to rain on you. So good news there. The shortest tenure ever as the head of a terrorist organization, the Israeli Defense Force said the new leader of Hesbollah has been taken out. If Hezbollah were a factory floor, then they would certainly be keeping a zero on their counter for the number of days since there's been an accident. Within hours of Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu dropping verbal bombs on the General Assembly at the United Nations, the little airstrike against the terrorists found their replacement leader eliminated shortly after that. Breaking, wrote researcher and entrepreneur Dr. Eli David, as the word of precision assaults circulated. Israel eliminated Hassan Khalil Yassin, who had replaced Hassan Nasrallah just hours ago. This breaks the Guinness World Record for the shortest tenure as the head of a terrorist organization. I think Israel's got a plan here, and I kind of think it's awesome. So somebody did a meme that said, "Let's congratulate Hassan Khalil Yassin on his new role as..." Never mind, and he's dead. While ridicule followed the devastating blows in the counteroffensive against the Iranian proxies that have been preceded by turning Hezbollah's communications networks on them with exploding pagers and walkie-talkies, the IDF confirmed further access as an airstrike eliminated the deputy head of Hezbollah's Central Council, Nabil Kouak. And here's the thing, a lot of people don't realize, but I want to help you. Iran is running Hezbollah. Hezbollah literally means the army of God. And of course, their God is no God at all. Their God is a created being, an archangel, by the name of Satan. So sorry about the door there. Hope that's not getting on here too loud. The IDF detailed in part that Kouak was close to Hezbollah's senior commanders and was directly engaged in the terrorist attack against the state of Israel and its citizens. The Israeli Defense Force will continue to strike and eliminate the commanders within the Hezbollah terrorist organization and will act against anyone who threatens the citizens of Israel. I recently was in a hotel and they were having a Muslim convention there, and I walked up and I was warmly greeted by their greeter in the hallway, and I asked him, I said, do we still have to kill all the Jews? The look on his face when I asked that question said it all. So that was a question that you're not supposed to ask. But anyway, I digress. As it has been covered, Netanyahu slammed the UN Friday as a house of darkness, considered home court to Hamas and Hezbollah and their ilk. He said, in this swamp of anti-Semitic bile, there's an automatic majority willing to demonize the Jewish state on anything. In this anti-Israel flat earth society, any false charge, any outlandish allegation can muster a majority. He also asserted, as long as Hezbollah continues to choose the path of war, Israel has no choice. Israel has every right to remove any threats or to return our citizens to their homes safely, and that's exactly what we're doing. I would like to remind you that there are still a number of hostages, including Americans, that have not been returned. They may be dead. We really don't know. But this is the way that the Palestinians and the Arabs do it. They kidnap people, innocent people. They kidnap them and they hold them. And then when they decide to release them, they always make an agreement that's like 1 for 50. I'm going to give you back one of your Jews, but we want 50 Palestinians in exchange. A lot of you didn't know that, did you? But that's the way it's always been. It's always been a 1 for 50, in some cases 1 for 100. This is not acceptable, in my opinion. But nonetheless, that is why they do it. It's profitable for them to kidnap Jews. So, meanwhile, sources told Reuters that Iran's Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has gone into hiding while the radical Islamists reach out to proxies, which include the survivors of Hezbollah's ranks, about a response to the strikes that have been wiping out their command structure. This is the other thing. Israel always hits military targets. Unfortunately, the Muslims like to hide behind civilians. They like to hide behind women and children. So, unfortunately, there's going to be collateral damage. But Israel always is strategic and tries to attack only military targets. The other side, they don't care. That's why they just launch rockets into Israel every day, hundreds of rockets, if you didn't know that, because it doesn't get reported on the news. And these are not targeted against military facilities. These are targeted against the people of Israel. It's a miracle of God that thousands aren't killed, but God protects Israel because, believe it or not, Jerusalem is still the apple of God's eye. That's why it says in the Bible to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Now, I know some of you out there would say, well, those aren't real Jews. Well, it's prophesied that Israel is going to become a nation again, and whether you like them or not, I urge you to pray for them. So efforts from Israel continued with the report that the Air Force had struck targets in Yemen belonging to Iran's proxies there, the Houthi rebels. The IDF also made notes about the proximity of Hezbollah's operation to a UN facility in Lebanon, a little more than half a football field away from where Hassan Nasrallah was eliminated. So the IDF said 53 meters. That's the distance between a United Nations school and Hezbollah's underground headquarters, where Hassan Nasrallah was eliminated along with 20 other terrorists. So while Khomeini allegedly panicked and Iran's UN ambassador Amir Saeed Eravani found fault with the United States for supplying arms to Israel for these strikes that are wiping out terrorists, social media users have had a little fun at the expense of the rapidly changing leadership and what it must take to incentivize promotion. Welcome to Hezbollah. Our benefits include 1 complimentary goat. Do you hear something from the sky? I'm sure it's nothing. Job opportunity. CEO Hezbollah. Term 24 to 48 hours. Pay 70 virgins. His 15 minutes of fame were over 14 minutes early. On the other hand, if you join Hezbollah right now, there's a very firm change. Your career will skyrocket. Hezbollah is running out of commanders. And then it shows a picture of a maid saying, I'm currently the most senior person in this organization. Well, I think that's all pretty funny. And it's serious stuff, but you got to laugh a little bit just to keep from crying. I want to thank Kevin Haggerty over at the American Wire for that story. And now this. CNN decided it would be cool to interview a bunch of kids and find out what their reactions were to the presidential election, because a lot of times you can tell where things are going. The interesting part of this interview is that most of the kids that were children of leftists harbor an utter hate and disdain for Republicans because they know that Republicans are evil. How did they come to that? Obviously, their parents. But I wanted to give you a snippet of some of the kids from Texas and see what they had to say, because I thought it was absolutely fascinating how kids in Texas are just a little different than some of the leftist kids that were interviewed on the East and West Coast.
What's the first word that pops into your head when you hear the name Kamala Harris?
Liar.
What's the first word that pops into your head when you hear Donald Trump?
Pure evil.
Which one do you think is more selfish?
Like selfish? Probably her.
Kamala Harris?
Yeah, because girls are a little bit dramatic sometimes.
Donald Trump, he's given his life and his heart.
What's the first word that pops into your head when you hear the name Kamala Harris?
Liar.
It's interesting that one leftist little girl said that what comes to her mind when she hears the name Donald Trump is pure evil. You see, you can only come to a conclusion like that if you've been indoctrinated, because let's face it, Donald Trump has given up more for this nation than any man since George Washington. In fact, he has given up more than George Washington did, because Donald Trump could be living a life of luxury right now. He could be enjoying his absolutely beautiful wife, his amazing, beautiful grandchildren, the wealth that is almost immeasurable, or so much of it. And yet he has chosen to give up all of that to become one of the most hated men in the world. Why? Because he loves this country. And he understands that the only thing that's important at this point is seeing to it that his grandchildren have a chance to live in a world with liberty and justice for all. The First Amendment, which we've talked about here at length, the right of freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom of religion, freedom of assembly, and of course the freedom to seek redress from government when you realize they're screwing up. Those rights are very important. That's why we had the First Amendment, and that's why our founding fathers would not sign the Constitution until that was included. Indeed, the first 10 amendments to the Constitution recognize God-given rights. So Donald Trump has given up his life of luxury because he loves America so much. And you need to respect that. Even if you're a leftist, you should respect that. Because Kamala Harris is a woman who grew up understanding the need to service men as fully as possible. And that's what she did. And that's really where her skill set is. That's how she got to where she is today. But she lacks the intellect to be able to lead this great nation. They chose her, a woman who couldn't even get 2% of the vote in the primary, because they wanted someone who would follow orders and in order to have more riches and wealth. And dare I say power. If you watch some of the old videos, you understand how horrible this woman would be if she had power. So anyway, keep all that in mind. And remember this, talk is cheap. You need to get out and do it. Talk to your friends at church. Talk to your friends at the various clubs, the Oaks, the Moose, the Lions. Talk to your friends when you're out there on the golf course. We need to move everyone into the Trump camp. God bless. Y'all have a great day. You have a choice, and you chose Freedom 1300.